After Teacher Liang went to Tran Hainen's room, he invited Teacher Liang to sit down and chat. He said, "To preserve the seeds of future civilization, and to help keep this base going, I hope you can help me. I hope you'll lend me your strength." Miss Liang. What he meant was that he wanted Teacher Liang to be his subordinate, so he can take advantage of her to work for him. Teacher Liang happily shook hands with Tran Haiso said, "If I can be of any help to you." He was always comfortable giving orders. Tran Haiso raised his hand to the secretary and said, "Ji Ro will take you to the living quarters on the second floor of the base. From now on she will live there." The secretary immediately led the way and said, "Let's go. I will take Ms. Liang to her future residence." Hearing this, Teacher Liang felt a little nervous. Maybe she's worried about her students. A moment later in the life zone on the second floor of the base, the secretary brought Teacher Liang here. Ms. Liang said curiously, "This place looks quite wonderful." Scene changes to Zhang Yi's side. At this moment Mi is outside the safe house. He was looking at the mutated cat Hoa Hoa to eat and drink. Zhang Yi gently and happily said to the mutated cat, "I've been giving you food for a week now, Hoa Hoa. Look. You've eaten so much of my food. From now on you will be my cat. Come inside the house with me." The mutated cat Hoa Hoa turned to look at Zhang Yi and meowed twice. Seems to have agreed on Zhang Yi's statement. Zhang Yi added, "Just follow me inside. I can confirm. You will have food like this to eat every day." Zhang Yi waved to the mutant cat Hoa Hoa. He added, "Inside the room is very warm. There's a stove to fix the kettle. Look. A strong, warm fire. It's cold outside. You shouldn't be here." The mutated cat is petting after a meal but does not forget to be wary of Zhang Yi. At this time, Hoa Hoa cat looked inside the safe house. Saw little girl Xin Xin and Ka Nin happily chatting together. The mutated cat Hoa Hoa immediately remembered the good memories with Xin Xin in the past. The mutated cat is well cared for by the girl Xin Xin. At this moment, Zhang Yi raised his hand to welcome the cat Hoa Hoa. "Do you want to go inside and see? Inside the house is very warm and comfortable." The mutated cat Hoa Hoa immediately approached Zhang Yi, proving that Hoa Hoa agreed to follow Zhang Yi inside. Seeing that, Zhang Yi secretly smiled. Great. A moment later, the mutated cat Hoa Hoa followed Zhang Yi into the house. Zhang Yi sat down and said, "There are also many other delicious dishes in the house. Do you want to come in and taste it?" At this moment, the cat Hoa Hoa also agreed to follow Zhang Yi into the house. The cat walked and looked around. Zhang Yi whispered and smiled smugly, finally succeeded. As soon as he entered the house, the mutated cat immediately went to the expensive luxury sofa and scratched and happily played with the chair. Seeing that, Zhang Yi felt sorry for the chair but still tried to act like it was okay and smiled shyly. He whispered to Hoa Hoa, "Does not matter. You can see everywhere here. From now on, this place will be your home." Joka sat on the side looking at Zhang Yi and the mutant cat Hoa Hoa and said, "If this cat can't turn into a woman, then maybe I no longer have status in this house." The mutated cat Hoa Hoa happily ran around the room, jumped from the sofa to the ground, then jumped onto the table. Hoa Hoa played happily. After tired playing, the mutated cat Hoa Hoa immediately jumped on the chair and lay down to sleep. When Zhang Yi saw that it had gone to sleep, he immediately approached it. He thought, it must be sleeping, so he continued to try to make more contact. Having said that, Zhang Yi brought his hand closer to caress the mutated cat Hoa Hoa, but the cat Hoa Hoa's natural reflexes were very sharp, so she discovered him and growled threateningly. At this time, Zhang Yi reached out to stroke the mutated cat to increase intimacy. But because this mutant cat has sharp reflexes, it was discovered and growled to prevent him from getting close to it. Zhang Yi also had to wait helplessly for the cat to go to sleep again. He sighed and thought to himself, "I don't have such trouble dealing with women." Having said that, he continued to try caressing the cat to increase his affection. Finally, the mutated cat Hoa Hoa dismissed the danger from Zhang Yi. "Let him caress you comfortably." Hoa Hoa cat looks very comfortable and sleeps well. After succeeding, Zhang Yi sat down on the chair and sighed, finally announcing his success. After entering the house, Hoa Hoa cat also got along with the family members, because it trusted Xin Xin and everyone again. Hoa Hoa cat is very welcome. Even when taking a bath, cousin Yang Mi also brought her cat Hoa Hoa with her. Even in Joka's bedroom, the cat Hoa Hoa came to play with her. Even when going to sleep, the cat Hoa Hoa came to little girl Xin Xin's room. The three of them slept together very happily. Sometime later, Zhang Yi went to the control room to meet little girl Xin Xin. "Xin Xin, calling you here so hastily. Have you discovered anything new?" Xin turned around and looked at him with a somewhat serious expression and said, "The person trying to break into our system has been found by me." Zhang Yi approached the display screen and judged. This place is located in the southwest of the Tay-Sun area, less than 30 kilometers from here. Zhang Yi approached and asked Duong Xin, "The person trying to hack our safe house system is so close?" Xin smiled proudly and said, "The opponent's level is not good, it's probably just a programmer who doesn't have much experience doing it." Xin did a few things on the control panel and then added, "Their equipment is also not high-end. It's also very easy for me to get in. The data in the computer has already been processed and encrypted. If you want to solve it, it still takes some time." Little girl Xin said to Man while decoding the encryption. "But based on the information available now for analysis, in the Tay-Sun area, there is indeed a large organization that exists." Little girl Xin turned and said to Zhang Yi, "It won't be long before we meet them." Zhang Yi crossed his arms and said, "So even if you want to escape, you can't escape. I don't want to cause trouble, nor am I afraid of others coming to cause trouble. If anyone wants to disrupt the peace here, I will take that person's life." Then he turned and left. As he walked away he said, Xin, "You continue to monitor the enemy signals, then break the encryption to take away the information. I want to get more intelligence about that organization." Just then Zhang Yi went down to the basement. He raised his hand in greeting and said, "Kanin, it's me." Little girl Luke Kok was working when she stood up and turned to answer. "Boss, why did you come here?" Zhang Yi came closer and said happily, "Of course I came here to see how my work is going." The girl Luke Kanin smiled proudly and gave Zhang Yi a new weapon that she had just made. The little girl said, "Boss, I have something good to show you." Zhang Yi happily held the new weapon that Hanin had just created in his hands. He observed for a moment and then gave his opinion. "Exquisite, just when you need this." Zhang Yi thought happily, "My sniper ability combined with my supernatural abilities, plus this, is like a tiger growing wings. Now that we have this silencer device, we can solve the problem of revealing our location because of the gun's explosion." Immediately, Zhang Yi gave little Ka Corsa a like. "With Ka Corsa's help, this is well worth it." He complimented her a few times. "Kanin, you did very well." The little girl smiled happily in response to him. "Try it out to see if it's convenient or not. Although I made it according to the size of your sniper rifle, if your hand is not convenient, I can adjust it." At this time, Zhang Yi went down to the manufacturing room. Little girl Kanin happily gave him her newly made silencer. Then she added, "Boss, if you need anything in the future, just let me know. I will definitely try my best to create it to help you." Zhang Yi immediately put his arm around Kanin's shoulder, causing the girl to blush shyly. He says, "This is also the purpose of his coming here this time." The little girl Kanin sitting next to Zhang Yi still blushed shyly. Zhang Yi still casually said, "Grenades, mines and explosives, can you make these things?" Seeing Kanin being silent, Zhang Yi asked further, "It must have been very difficult to make these things." But he didn't know that because he made her shy, she lost concentration. Kanin immediately stood up and confidently said, "Why might that be?" "Boss, I underestimated you. I thought it was something complicated." Little girl Kanin hummed and then added, "Those things are not as difficult to manufacture as new energy batteries." Kanin turned aside angrily and said, "I feel like I'm being looked down upon by you for asking me to do these things." Zhang Yi thought to himself, "What a good brother, for a genius are those things low-tech." Little girl Xin said frankly, "The things you mentioned are actually of little use in modern warfare. 100 years ago, these weapons and equipment suitable for personal combat were very good." Zhang Yi sat down to listen. Kanin added, "Gunpowder. Even a junior high school student can do it if he has enough ingredients, isn't it just precipitated sulfur, nitrate and charcoal?" Zhang Yi shyly sat down with Kanin with a pale face. He said shyly, "Today is different from the past. After the cold ice age came, most weapons and high-tech vehicles became scrap metal." Zhang Yi added, "Today's war is between people, the scale is getting smaller and smaller, in this case, mines and explosives will be useful." He turned to say to little Kanin, Xin has found the location of the person who wants to hack into our system. It is still unclear who the enemy is, but it is most likely an organization with powerful armed forces." He added again, "To protect our safety, you must increase your defense level and strengthen the traps around the safe house. Do you understand what I said?" Hearing that, Kanin was very surprised. There was some panic in her eyes. Little girl Kanin was covered in tears. The little girl turned and said, "So this is the reason. Sorry baby. I didn't know these things just now." Zhang Yi rubbed her head to comfort her. It's okay, just try your best. You don't need to worry about anything else. I'm here. I will protect you and everyone. Kanin became even more tearful. You, boss. You are so good to me. I don't know how to repay you either. Zhang Yi laughed and said, actually, you didn't know that when I first met you. I have special feelings for you. You look a lot like one of my sisters. As soon as I saw you, I really wanted to protect you. Hearing that, Kanin became even more moved. She burst into tears of joy. This is true prose. Zhang Yi immediately said. Of course it's true. How could you lie to me? The girl happily nodded and said, yes. Little girl Kanin thought shyly. However, it can only be you. Zhang Yi stroked Kanin's cheek, surprising her, then he added. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. You don't need to worry about anything. I'm here to protect you for everything. Zhang Yi shines like a star and says, as long as you're still here, I won't cause you any harm. Little girl Kanin happily nodded and said, it's okay. Zhang Yi turned around and left. As he walked away he said, just do your job, take good care of yourself and don't overwork yourself. Little girl Kanin happily sat alone. She replied, yes. Zhang Yi left in a happy and satisfied state. I'm also a little shy. His cheeks were also red because he couldn't hide his emotions, although this method is not too advanced. But we'll be able to manipulate Luke Kanin's psychology, such rare talent. You must make her work wholeheartedly for you. Zhang Yi shows that he is the one who is disadvantaged. If the time comes, it is okay to sell a little of his integrity. He held the silencer that Kanin gave him in his hand and smiled proudly. Dangerous things like weapons must be in the hands of their own people. At this time, Zhang Yi took out his phone to contact again. The display screen is Zhang Yi's group. Members include Zhang Yi, Uncle Yu, little brother Chen Lei. Zhang Yi sent messages to the group. Recently, an unknown force was discovered. We're so close. Everyone must be careful. At times like these, it's not easy to trust others. Continuing, Zhang Yi sent another message. Because of the apocalyptic snow leopard disaster, the government was no longer able to govern the regions. Therefore, any force or person with a flag must be alert. Most important is to remember, don't reveal your powers. This is extremely important. Everyone, remember carefully. After Zhang Yi sent the information into the group, his younger brother Chen Lei and Uncle Yu immediately looked at it. The two of them were a little confused when reading the above information. The younger brother Chen Lei immediately replied, I understand Mr. Zhang Yi. I will definitely be careful. Uncle Yu also replied, me too. You also have to pay attention to safety. Zhang Yi walked nervously. Right now, that's all we can do. Either way, I won't leave here. Zhang Yi stroked his chin and thought, but now the most dangerous is Chen Lei's side. Zhang Yi thought according to his judgment. From the information obtained from the Taesun base to his location, the place where Chen Lei lived was in the middle, and the safe house where Zhang Yi lived was in the back. Chen Lei sent a new message again. If you encounter danger, if you can't resist, come to me. Zhang Yi walked somewhere. I held the phone firmly in my hand and thought, a supernatural person with the ability to control ice and snow is very useful. I must try to protect Chen Lei. Scene changes to Chen Lei. He was sleeping and smiling happily. Mr. Zhang Yi, other people just want to snoop around your villa. Chen Lei smiled to himself and mumbled. Our 2Jia village is just a small rural area, on the other side of Tianhai City. Not only are house prices extremely cheap, but in the eyes of people in the city, we have no status at all. Who wants to find out? The scene changes to 27 kilometers west of 2Jia village. There are two people walking on the snow, a man and a woman. The man looked at the cold falling snow and said, this blizzard really doesn't know when it will stop. If it continues for a few more months, perhaps the whole world will be buried. The woman turned around and said, the snow will not fall forever without stopping. The water element in the air has become very condensed. Without water evaporating in other areas, how can snow and ice form? This woman wears glasses, proved to be a researcher. Or a scientist. So she knows a lot of things. This woman reached out her hand to hold the falling snowflakes. She observed and commented, I heard. Even the temperature at the equator has dropped to -20 degrees Celsius. The woman pointed her finger far ahead and said, so from now on there will only be ice. Snow and rain will become less and less. Perhaps this is the last bit of mercy from Mother Nature to this world. Right now white dogs appear. White as falling snowflakes. The man sat in the car filled with snow, and the woman rode on the dog's back and left. Suddenly this woman took out her walkie-talkie to contact someone. and the investigation of the eastern Taesun area was completed. The man behind asked the girl, "Where do we go next?" The woman replied, "This time, we must follow the instructions of our superiors to explore a special area." The man behind asked curiously, "What is a special survey like?" The woman replied, "Special tasks assigned by superiors, without mentioning the specific content of the task, but probably not an extremely important existence. Just like before, go there and investigate once, then you can return. Go for a while." The woman and the man approached the riverbank. "See the houses still standing?" The girl said, "That place is the riverbank, we can find it along the riverbank." The woman stepped back and sat with the man on the dog sled. Then said, "Let's go. Once the last touch is done, you can return." After sitting firmly in the car, the woman signaled the white dogs to move. Dog sled was still very effective during the Ice Age. Right now in Tujia village. A scene with houses on both sides. In the middle is a castle. The woman and the young man went to explore and immediately discovered, both of them were amazed. Originally designated as a convenient way to see through. Unexpectedly, in such harsh weather, there are still villages outside this wilderness. The other two intended to go inside to explore and find information, was immediately discovered by the guard dogs. The dogs guarding the door immediately barked a few times to signal. The villagers quickly ran over. Everyone had weapons in their hands for self-defense. The woman said in surprise, "I didn't expect there to be so many survivors." The thinking woman said, "Not only did they not freeze to death, but they also maintained the scale of the village, which was truly unbelievable." A young man in the village came out with a gun to threaten his opponent. "Who are you? What do we do in our village?" The woman approached. "Show your identity sign, we are on duty. This time here to search and help survivors in the apocalypse. Don't worry everyone. Mr. Sao is currently the village chief of Tujiadong village." He came forward and picked up the girl's sign to look over. Immediately after watching, Mr. Sao happily said, "Therefore, it is completely welcome." Mr. Sao turned around and said to his village. He pointed to the woman and said, "Hurry up and prepare a delicious meal. Today we have distinguished guests, we must receive it well." After that, the woman and her teammate followed Mr. Sao inside. The people went inside first to prepare a party for the distinguished guests. Mr. Sao did not forget to tell you, each household took out a little bit of stored food. Don't be cold towards people. The villagers came closer and whispered in Mr. Sao's ear, "Mr. Sao, we don't know what their purpose is in coming here. Why are you so enthusiastic about them?" Mr. Sao whispered softly, "Just knowing who they represent is enough." Mr. Sao stroked his beard and said, "Now that the world is in chaos, as long as we can have relationships with powerful people, our two family will have a chance to make a lot of money in the future." Mr. Sao, the village chief, happily advised his village. "Furthermore, just a little food. We can get it out." The young man happily walked faster. Mr. Sao is right. A short time later, food and drinks have been fully prepared by the village. Everyone in the village and the woman went down together. This girl looked at village chief Mr. Sao and the food on the table and thought, these villagers seem to have not been greatly affected since the Ice Age. Stored supplies are also quite complete. This beautiful and talented woman spoke first. "Oh my God, such a big snowstorm. But it seems like everyone's village is not affected much, right? How can people do that?" The village chief replied, "Firstly, surely it is because the people of our village are self-reliant. Have a strong fighting spirit. Was not overthrown by the apocalyptic disaster of the blizzard." Mr. Sao happily said, "Second, my village chief also has some effects." Mr. Sao said while smiling brightly, "Ha ha, really hide nothing. On weekdays, I taught them to accumulate more food. Take precautions when necessary, so when this blizzard hits, our village does not have to worry about food problems." Hearing this, the young man and woman were a bit surprised. Mr. Sao proudly added, "Not to boast, but no one in the whole village has starved to death." The old man next to him looked at Mr. Sao with helpless eyes. He silently scolded, "I've only been the village chief for a few days. Previously, they were all commanded by Mr. Ba. Furthermore, in recent years, our village has always had the habit of hoarding food. Why does Mr. Sao say it's all his credit?" After hearing this, the woman exclaimed, "Oh, say so, your Tujiadong village has a lot of food, right?" Mr. Sao replied, "Beautiful girl. So you have no understanding of Tianhai City's agricultural market." Mr. Sao, the village head, began to add, "Hide nothing. All the green vegetables of Tianhai City have 3 parts that our village provides. But Mr. Cao suddenly realized something. He pondered. Impossible, if the reserves are revealed. What if people want us to take our things to help others? The woman and the young man were a bit excited after hearing Mr. Cao's last sentence. Mr. Cao, the village head, quickly said, but the blizzard over the past month has also destroyed a lot of food and vegetables, so now we are just maintaining a level of fullness. After listening, the woman turned to look at the young man with a dissatisfied look. At this time, the woman and the young man from the emergency department. The two were having a meal with Mr. Cao, the village chief. The woman tried to ask for more information. Your entire village has at least more than 1,000 households, right? Making sure you are well fed and warm is also very good. After receiving a few compliments, Mr. Cao said. Right now, everyone in our village lives very well. Mr. Cao started bragging. He put his hand behind his back and said. I directed everyone to build these ice houses so that the housing problem could be solved. Just saying, there is nothing to increase credibility with people. Mr. Cao immediately approached the wall and added. Where else can there be such intelligence? Many houses were buried in snow. Countless people died. An old man sat at the dining table and couldn't bear it. He silently scolded, braggart, show off. The woman wearing glasses smiled softly at the young man, she thought to herself. Unexpectedly, this old man is also quite capable. The young man immediately praised Mr. Cao. These houses are all made by humans. It's hard to believe, everyone in your village is truly full of skilled people. When Mr. Cao was praised, he smiled widely and said, the people in our village are all farmers, of course they have some skills to earn extra income to support the family. When I saw people in the village bringing food, Mr. Cao continued to brag, you two don't need to be polite, eat a lot. I have so much food brought to me. The woman wearing glasses and the young man laughed sinisterly. The bespectacled woman from the Tae-sun base smiled sinisterly, but she could no longer hide it when the joy of these two people exploded. She secretly smiled, what a rich village. Mr. Cao thought he was smart, thought he was a hunter, but he didn't expect Mr. Cao to be the prey. The hunter becomes the prey. Mr. Cao wants to take advantage of people to have a better life in the future, but I didn't expect it. Surprise lies ahead. Mr. Cao poured each of these two people a glass of wine. Mr. Cao asked kindly, can you tell me when you two plan to deal with the snow leopard? The sinister glasses-wearing woman and the well-fed young man said. Everyone can rest assured about this, we already have a plan to deal with snow leopards, and will begin implementing it soon. Hearing that, Mr. Cao happily said. It's so good. So good. These devilish days are truly unpleasant. It's impossible to rely on just the few of us. The young man from the village behind Mr. Cao was also very happy. He was still a little curious and asked, but there is still no accurate news from experts. I don't know when this blizzard that everyone calls the end of the world will stop. Woman wearing glasses trying to appear calm. She said affirmatively, soon. This blizzard won't last too long. Everyone look. Isn't the blizzard much smaller now? It will be over in a few months at most. The young man looked at the girl wearing glasses and smiled happily. Speaking without changing his face, his emotions changed slightly. If I hadn't known about it before, I'm afraid I would have believed it. The woman wearing glasses continued her acting. She still spoke thoughtfully. Has anyone in the village changed strangely recently? After hearing this, all three people in the village were a little silent and sweating. Mr. Cao thought, they wanted to learn about someone with the same condition as Chen Lei. Even though I'm stupid, but Mr. Cao still knows how to use his brain. He immediately replied, what is the strange change? The people in our village are all very normal. The woman wearing glasses continued asking. Is the type where some strange changes occur in the body? Possesses abilities different from normal people. It can also be said to be a person with supernatural abilities. I believe that if you have been together for such a long time, if there is any difference in each other, you will be able to easily recognize it. If everyone can provide information, there will be a generous reward later. Although Mr. Cao is stupid, he also realizes that this matter is not simple. Who knows if this statement is trustworthy or not? Mr. Cao stroked his beard and thought. I'm the village chief, it's not everyone's turn to talk here. The situation of mutants, also known as mutants, that they say is definitely from Chen Lei, should we tell the truth or not? Mr. Cao thought for a moment. He asked the girl, may I ask a question? What do people look for people like that for? The girl looked very confident. She raised her glass of wine and said, these people are all precious talents. Can certainly use their abilities to contribute to the reconstruction of the country. This girl is also very not simple. Started using psychological attacks again. She poured wine for Mr. Cao and said, Village chief, if you know news of such a person, you must promptly report it, and the organization will recognize your merits. Mr. Sao also seemed to realize the girl's intentions. Oh, so that's it. Mr. Sao looked at the girl and thought, if that were the case, it would be great, but he didn't see any practical value. Mr. Sao, the village head, immediately imagined a future. What happens if you are no longer protected by Chen Lei? Chen Lei is the most precious person in our village. Without him, I don't know what the village will be like in the future. I can't easily tell outsiders. Mr. Sao immediately took out his phone and asked for the girl's contact method. Let's exchange contact methods. I will pay more attention in the future. If I discover someone like you described, I will definitely let you know. This woman saw that Mr. Sao was a bit shy. She immediately said, Village chief, are you trying to hide something from us? Lying to your representative is extremely bad behavior. Mr. Sao, not at all weak, held the phone in his hand and answered, No, what do you mean by that? I didn't lie even half a sentence. This woman kept asking him questions to make Mr. Sao reveal his loopholes, so she could get more information. She used her finger to repeatedly tap the table and asked, So is there really no strange person next to you? This woman wearing glasses added, Think carefully, the company said, if you know and don't report, the consequences will be serious. She seemed to have intimidated Mr. Sao village head. Mr. Sao was so scared that his face turned purple and he remained silent, not knowing what to say. But under the threat of words, Mr. Sao was not simple. He immediately approached the girl and said, If you said it like that, it seems like there is a suspicious person in our village, but this person is not from our village, everyone doesn't know very well, so we don't know. Dare to say it arbitrarily. This girl is a bit dissatisfied with Mr. Sao's attitude. The girl gently asked Mr. Sao calmly. Mr. Sao came closer and whispered, That person's name is Zhang Yi, he lives in the villa opposite. The woman then remembered her previous mission. Zhang Yi, the subject of investigation mentioned in the special mission, is him. The girl wearing glasses happily slapped the table and asked Mr. Sao, That's so fitting, quickly tell me the details. The young man was still attentively enjoying his meal. He was secretly happy about the delicious food and wine. He just happened to be able to take this opportunity to get intelligence related to the target from the villagers and his family. Mr. Sao, the village head, immediately told the story to the woman and the young man. That Zhang Yi is a devil-like character. He alone could kill more than 100 people in our village. We can only keep our anger towards him inside. We can't do anything to him. You two must definitely get justice for us. These two people folded their arms and listened to the information. But the villagers came in loudly and talked loudly. That's right, that's right. His strength is not like a normal person at all. The men went to work in our village. People die, people get injured. This girl tried to ask for more information about this important intelligence. Does everyone know Zhang Yi's age and height? Have you all seen his appearance? Mr. Sao replied. We only know that there are many traps around his house. He also has a gun. And there is a car that can drive on snow. And a snowmobile. The young man immediately asked Mr. Sao, So what is the power of that guy? Does everyone know? Mr. Sao immediately replied. We also don't know, nor do we understand what supernatural powers are. It just doesn't feel like a normal person. This matter still needs further investigation. Girl wearing glasses thinking. The key to dealing with people with supernatural abilities is to understand the opponent's strength. To win, you need to know who the opponent is and what strength they have in order to win. But still no news was obtained. After finishing the meal, the girl and this young man left. The whole Tujia village also went a little further towards the two of them. You go leisurely. As for our village's affairs, it all depends on you two. The woman replied. From now on, the village will be in charge of him. If you discover any useful information, please remember to promptly report it to me. Mr. Sa happily replied. Yes, I will definitely try my best. Please trust me. They got on the dog sled and prepared to leave. The girl immediately took out her walkie-talkie and contacted the base. Discovered a large-scale village, with about 2,000 people living, and storing a large amount of food and supplies. The whereabouts of the person with special abilities have not yet been discovered. The young man sitting next to him said, Just now in the village, why did you have to lie to them? Things like rebuilding after a disaster are all untrue. The girl immediately explained to this unintelligent guy. If I tell the truth, do you think we can be received as honored guests? Are you still able to eat well and get drunk? Are you still able to honestly provide intelligence? The guy scratched his head and replied, I also understand that, but I still feel like it's not a good thing to do. Anyway, they treated us not bad. This girl sat down and laughed. She quipped at this guy. That's why I said, you can only be my subordinate. I'm both beautiful and smart, and you're the opposite of me, haha. The girl is confident and proud of her abilities. The girl smiled softly and said to the young man, the words I said were exactly what they wanted to hear. Not only did they not resent me, but they were also grateful to me for giving them hope. This young man still stubbornly follows his own ideas. He interrupted the girl's sentence, but one day they will discover that everything she said was a lie. Until then, what is she going to do? The girl laughed again. Can you wait until then? The girl wearing glasses smiled mischievously. No matter the time, as long as the stance is different, the right or wrong in words is no longer important. Under the guidance of Mr. Sao of the village school and the people of 2Gia village, the young man and the girl wearing glasses arrived. The young man took out binoculars to observe the situation in the house where Zhang Yi lives. He looked and said to the girl wearing glasses, fortunately, I got the news in advance. If you don't take the risk of going there, you might get hurt. The girl wearing glasses laughed softly, a sinister smile appeared on the girl's face. She said, being able to live in a luxurious villa in the apocalypse, enjoying a comfortable life, even I can't help but feel jealous. The young man looked at the girl and smiled softly. There's nothing to admire. It's so cold outside, and the house is so big, just keeping it warm takes a lot of energy. The young man continued. Where did he get so many ingredients to keep warm, let alone his daily clothes? The girl wearing glasses thought to herself. If the murderer who took away all the supplies in the Hoanam warehouse was Zhang Yi, it would be uncertain whether his supplies would still be enough. The girl with 3 parts of innocence immediately switched to her dangerous mode. She climbed onto the young man's shoulder and said, take me over there. After the girl clung tightly to the young man, he jumped high into the sky, leaving the dog sled in a super cool way. A jump brought the girl with glasses to Zhang Yi's house. Escaped the trap that Zhang Yi had set up outside. After arriving at Zhang Yi's door, these two people slowly approached the house. This girl looked around the outside of the safe house and assessed. This is the residence of the rich. The inside is flashy and luxurious, the outside has defensive capabilities even comparable to a blockhouse. This girl touched the wall surface of the house with her hand and speculated, it's just a pity that for me, this world doesn't have an indestructible bunker. The young man commented, did you really not think about discussing with your teammates to intervene? Your abilities are not combat type, venturing in could potentially be dangerous. The girl turned around and talked to her teammates. Lu Xiang, don't forget, even if I don't have combat abilities, I'm still a member of the special combat team. Lu Xiang also listened helplessly. Lu Xiang sighed and replied, whatever you do, I'll wait for you outside. If the situation gets worse, open fire and I'll think of a way to get inside. Ta Huan smiled coldly. Rest assured that Zhang Yi would not have imagined that there was a way to break in like this in this world. Having said that, she used her powers to make the wall surface of the house as safe as a door. After using the power on the wall surface, Ta Huan immediately went inside. This ability to penetrate all things is truly awesome. Right after that, Ta Huan successfully entered Zhang Yi's safe house. She thought to herself, this guy is really good, living these days is happier than a fairy. Ta Huan looked at everything around and judged. I can now confirm that he definitely has a lot of supplies left. Whether it's food or energy, he lacks nothing, otherwise he wouldn't be able to enjoy such a comfortable life. Ta Huan walked to a certain room. She was about to open the door. But suddenly she realized something. Ta Huan immediately withdrew his hand and thought for a moment. This safe house was much more important than the mission's conjecture. She saw a dagger on the table, she immediately took it and thought, first of all, to scare the mutants here, maybe she could still capture the enemy and take over this place with her bare hands. After picking up the dagger on the table, she immediately used her powers to go through the wall in the dungeon. Right after that, the girl Ta Huan went outside. When Lu Xiang saw his teammates coming out, he worriedly asked, did you find anything? Ta Huan said, there is a lot of news, let's go back first, on the way back I will slowly tell it. Lu Tuduong had some questions and asked Ta Huan. Go, young man Lu Xiang asked more worriedly. Did you encounter a very strong opponent? Ta Huan replied, although it's not clear, according to the current situation, that man Zhang Yi is definitely not simple. Ta Huan said frankly, I'm not good at fighting, there's no need to take risks, go back and report the situation here to your superiors, sending the army here is the safest bet. After hearing this, Lu Xiang felt it made sense, so he immediately replied, okay, so let's withdraw first. Then he sat down to prepare to carry Ta Huan and leave. The scene changes to Zhang Yi. He immediately wakes up in panic to the cry of the mutated cat Hoa Hoa. He sat up and saw the mutated cat Hoa Hoa reacting strongly towards the outside of the door, making him very surprised. Zhang Yi immediately took out his gun for protection. He thought to himself, Hoa Hoa is so alert, something must have happened in the house. Zhang Yi came forward with a gun, caressed and asked the mutated cat Hoa Hoa, what's wrong? The mutated cat teacher Hoa Hoa looked around very cautiously. Zhang Yi was a bit confused, maybe he had a nightmare that night? Zhang Yi also wondered. Never heard of it before. Cats will also have nightmares. Zhang Yi took out his phone to observe the camera in his room, but did not detect any abnormalities. The mutated cat Hoa Hoa approached the door, then continuously scratched the door and cried continuously. It wanted to signal Zhang Yi that there was something outside. Zhang Yi went to open the door and the mutated cat Hoa Hoa quickly walked out of the room. Zhang Yi said worriedly, wait a minute. Zhang Yi followed behind the cat Hoa Hoa and watched the cat walk up to the table. After arriving at the table, the mutated cat Hoa Hoa used her ability to smell the scent on the dagger. Zhang Yi found it very strange and immediately picked it up to observe. He thought to himself, this military knife is definitely not mine. The other people in the shelter certainly don't have this either. The mutated cat teacher Hoa Hoa kept calling out. Seems to be signaling something. Zhang Yi immediately went to the TV and turned on the surveillance camera. He thought to himself, who put it here? Is it possible to silently overcome the defense of the emergency department without causing any movement? He took out the remote and turned on the surveillance camera. Zhang Yi muttered to himself, looked at the living room's surveillance camera, adjusted it to 10 minutes ago, then waited to see if anyone appeared. After he rewinded the time 10 minutes ago, he saw Tao Huan Huan walking through the wall and entering. Zhang Yi didn't see it very clearly, he said angrily, zooming in. The scene was enlarged. Zhang Yi saw a close-up of Tao Huan Huan slowly walking out from within the wall. He exclaimed, but he still had such superpowers. Zhang Yi learned that Tao Huan Huan deliberately left the knife behind to scare him. He was extremely angry. This woman must die, we absolutely cannot let her live. Zhang Yi turned around and called the mutated cat Hoa Hoa for help. Hoa Hoa, follow me out and kill the person who has entered here. Zhang Yi immediately took the protective gear from his space powers and equipped it all on himself. Immediately after that, Zhang Yi pressed the control panel to open the window screen. As soon as he opened it, Zhang Yi saw Tao Huan Huan, Lu Ziyang, outside. Seeing that, Zhang Yi was so angry that his face turned blue. You too, it's okay, kill the woman who broke into the shelter first and think about it later. The trailers of the Tute Sun base scouts traveled quite a distance from Zhang Yi's base. Lu Tuduang saw Tao Huan Huan always smiling all the way, so he asked. Huan Huan, what did you see in Zhang Yi's palace that made you look so happy? When Tao Huan Huan saw Lu Tuduang asking that question, she seriously explained it to him. There are a few things that just need a little thinking to understand immediately. She turned her gaze straight towards Lu Ziyang's eyes and added. But today I'm actually in a pretty good mood, so there's no harm in telling you this. Faced with the bewildered expression of Lu Ziyang, Tao Huan Huan asked him something. Previously there were rumors that Zhang Yi was the person involved in the Huanan warehouse theft. Have you heard about this? Lu Ziyang's face looked a bit silly, he immediately thought. Seems a bit impressive. Tao Huan Huan, she also clearly understood that her supervisor had no knowledge about this matter. She immediately spoke up to explain China's Huanan warehouse, storing more than a third of the supplies of supermarket groups in China. The value of its goods is said to have reached tens of billions of yuan. Hearing that, Lu Ziyang was very surprised. Tens of billions in materials. Is this so scary? He then changed his surprised attitude to wonder. What you mean is, Zhang Yi knows where those goods will go after spending money, right? Tao Huan Huan calmly expressed her thoughts. If Zhang Yi was just an ordinary warehouse manager, then the missing goods had absolutely nothing to do with him. She added. But can an ordinary person like him survive for so long, in the apocalypse, and still have powerful combat firepower? Is it possible to resist the siege of hundreds of villagers and kill more than 100 people who attacked his shelter? She then pointed a finger in the air and smiled sinisterly. Huanan warehouse theft case surpasses the understanding of ordinary people. But if it is the supernatural ability of an awakened person, it is very easy to understand. Brother Lu Ziyang stupidly went from one doubt to another. He immediately asked, what you mean is that he has the ability to hide those supplies. Use this ability of yours, to move all the items in the Huanan warehouse. Tao Huan Huan hesitated for a moment and replied. I'll just stop at speculation. I cannot be sure this is 100% true. But no matter what, it's not worth risking our lives here. She began to think and speak out her plan. After returning, we immediately reported the intelligence to our superiors, requesting that a large force be sent here. No matter how strong the defense of his shelter is, if we send a large attack force here, it will easily destroy this place. After hearing this, Lu Ziang said. He stretched his face and smiled. I think she has wonderful thoughts. Although she is just a person with natural abilities, her abilities create limitless possibilities. Ta Hon Hon saw his subordinates giving him compliments. Shows that he is quite self-conscious about his abilities. She immediately reassured. Don't be too self-conscious about your abilities. After completing this mission, you will definitely receive a great reward. She continued to raise her face to the big wedding sky. I will become a high-ranking member of the Tay Sun base. I will not treat you badly, ha. When Lu Ziang heard that, he quite expected this to come true. He immediately confidently spoke up, if this comes true, from now on I will wholeheartedly support and rely on you. You two are about to die, stop dreaming, just enjoy these precious minutes. In the distance, Zhang Yi rode on the back of the giant cat Hoa Hoa, which was running after the intruders at a very fast speed. Hoa Hoa's eyes turned bright red, as if it also wanted to eat these people alive. Zhang Yi and Hua Hua were actively chasing the two intruders. Zhang Yi held the gun and aimed forward, seeming to have discovered something. Ha ha, already seen it. Zhang Yi after accurately aiming at the other two people's trailer. Zhang Yi thought seriously, do you want to run? Impossible. Before he could react, a bullet immediately passed through Ta Huan Huan's head. The girl, still smiling while talking to Lu Ziang, immediately lay down. She died without understanding what happened. Lu Ziang seemed to realize what was happening. He immediately pulled out his gun and aimed it behind him. But it seems that his reaction speed is only 1/10 of Hoa Hoa's. Before he could understand what was happening, it appeared behind the guy. Turning around to look, behind him he saw a giant cat glaring at him with red eyes, making Lu Ziang sweat. Zhang Yi then immediately aimed and fired a bullet towards Lu Ziang. But very quickly, with supernatural powers or someone's help, Lu Ziang not only escaped the fatal bullet, but also pulled Ta along with him. Huan Huan escaped. After letting the enemy escape, Zhang Yi angrily said, damn, it seems like there's someone else following them. After observing for a while, Zhang Yi seriously thought. I saw two strangers breaking into my base. No matter who the enemy was, both of them had to die here. Definitely do not let the other person get back information about you. Zhang Yi jumped down from Hua Hua's back. While manipulating and examining, what should I do now? Should I call Chen Lei here? Forget about this, Chen Lei has no means of transportation. If he gets here it will be dawn. Zhang Yi seemed to have thought of something, immediately pointed in the direction the enemy ran and ordered Hua Hua. Hoa Hoa, you go chase those people, then I will be behind you to support you with a long-range sniper rifle. Zhang Yi added. When I return I will reward you with 100 dried fish. After Hoa Hoa heard there were fish, she happily meowed. In the distance, after escaping from Zhang Yi's bullets, Lu Ziang and Ta Huan Huan were hiding behind a large block of ice. Lu Ziang carefully looked behind him to see if Zhang Yi had chased him here. He angrily spoke up, the person who did this must be Zhang Yi. He must have secretly gone out to chase us, damn it. Lu Ziang quickly pulled out the walkie-talkie from Ta Huan Huan's body, and thought of a plan. I must avoid confronting him directly. Immediately call back to base for assistance. But before taking action, right behind the iceberg, the cat Hoa Hoa curled up and rolled, towards the two spies, meow, meow. Lu Ziang was surprised by this, he was surprised, this is such a strange thing. I want to bring the most comfortable moments to channel followers, so there will be inevitable mistakes. Please leave your comments below so I can fix errors and improve the video. Thank you very much.